A man happens to see countless of strange natural phenomena, an oil rain in the morning, thousands of birds rushing in the sky, even huge lightning at night. Today we will get you through a vague amorphous horror film without a literal monster called Take Shelter. Watch out and take care. Curtis and Samantha live in rural northern Ohio with their young deaf daughter Hannah. They are a close-knit Christian community. Samantha is a full-time wife and mother, which allows her to prioritize her time on Hannah. The family's main income relies on Curtis's work in a drilling company. It provides generous extended health benefits, which will enable them to obtain cochlear implant surgery for Hannah. One day, while talking fun with a neighbor, Samantha rushes out to stop Hannah, who is playing with a nailed board. A moment later, it starts pouring rain. Samantha and Anna look at the rain outside. Curtis also stops working and has some beer with his colleagues. Arriving at home, Curtis and Samantha happily look at her daughter sleeping. The following day, Curtis cleans up the trash pile in the backyard. However, a thunderstorm arrives, striking to the ground. Their dog, Red, becomes afraid of the thunder. He breaks the chain and bites Curtis in the right arm. Suddenly, Curtis wakes up in cold sweat. It turns out to be a bad dream. Being obsessed after that, as Hannah is hugging Red, Curtis separates Hannah from the dog. Samantha tells Curtis that he doesn't have to act like that because Red has been a good friend to Hannah. At work, Curtis seems to be distracted as he keeps looking at his right arm. While at the construction site, the drill gets jammed. Curtis takes a rest for a smoke. Curtis then notices 1,000 birds gathering in the sky. However, when Curtis asks his colleague, he doesn't see any bird. The following day, Curtis again deeps in a bad dream where there is a strong storm. He sees Hannah and himself in a car accident. There are two strange men who break into the car. One kidnaps Hannah, and the other chokes Curtis to death. Strangely, every bad dream is always accompanied by huge storms and golden oil rain, and then the resulting violence or threats. This makes Curtis become anxious and depressed more. Samantha suggests he should stay at home and take some rest. She drives Hannah to the weekly fair without him. After that, Curtis makes some fence around the dog's shelter to protect Hannah. When looking at the trash pile, Curtis sees a storm cellar in their backyard. He takes a look inside the cellar and measures something. At night, Curtis encounters another nightmare. When Hannah looks at the huge storm outside, Curtis comes to sit with her. However, there is a stranger staring at Hannah at that time. Curtis immediately holds Hannah away from the guy. However, the stranger keeps hitting the door to break in. A moment later, the whole ground shakes and floats up like an earthquake. As waking up, Curtis sees himself wet the bed in reality. When Samantha enters the room and checks on Curtis, he stops her from getting closer. Samantha becomes more worried about Curtis's health. After that, Curtis takes Hannah with him to the local library. He begins to think that he might suffer from mental illness. Regardless, he still can't help but believe that an apocalyptic storm of some sort will occur in the very near future. The two then shop for canned food in a supermarket. When having lunch with Samantha's family, Curtis mentions cleaning up the storm shelter in the backyard. The following days, Curtis focuses on building the shelter. He sets up everything inside without telling anyone about his plan. Samantha also notices that Curtis usually goes out to the shelter at night. Due to his overwork at night, Curtis becomes exhausted during the day. He goes to see a local counselor, making excuses that he got a cold. Curtis explains his sleeping troubles and his family's psychological history. As the nightmare takes place only a couple of times, the counselor then gives Curtis a mild sedative prescription which is non-habit forming. In the meantime, the counselor tells Curtis that if he still struggles with the bad dreams, it is better to see a psychiatrist. Later, the family visits Hannah's doctor and receives good news. Hannah is about to have the implant in 6 weeks. Curtis and Samantha then try to save more money for their only daughter. At night, Curtis intakes the prescribed medication. Surprisingly, he wakes up full of energy without any bad dreams the day after. At work, Curtis discusses with his colleague how long a person can survive if something bad happens. Suddenly, Curtis hears a strong thunder, but his peer doesn't. As the sky is still shiny blue, Curtis keeps astonishing about the thunder sounds that only he can hear by himself. Curtis starts to get sick and even vomits after that. Worrying about his worsening problem, Curtis goes to see his mother in a special care unit. She is Sarah, who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia at about the same age that Curtis is now. Curtis asks his mother if she went through bad dreams before getting diagnosed. Sarah just says she only had panic, worrying that someone was stalking her. During this time, he also notices unusual natural occurrences which only he seems to be experiencing. Curtis is unable to distinguish between reality and nightmares when they are happening. In order to enlarge the storm shelter, Curtis violates the work rules, uses equipment from his company to make another spare container shelter next to the current one. He also obtains a house renovation loan to start building the shelter, all of which Curtis never lets Samantha know. Seeing Curtis dig up the backyard, Samantha becomes angry. She has a fight with Curtis as he makes all the financial decisions by himself, knowing that Hannah's implant plan is coming. Samantha requires explanations for all of the strange actions Curtis made lately. However, Curtis says there is nothing to explain and leaves the room. At bedtime, Curtis takes more than the prescribed dose of the sedative. As a result, he has a seizure. Samantha has to call the ambulance. However, Curtis wants to save up for Hannah, so he refuses to be on the emergency service. Finally, Curtis talks to Samantha about his bad dreams lately and why he has to carry a plan to protect the family. Curtis says that it is not just common dreams, it's feelings. Samantha listens to Curtis, but still his idea goes out of her control. Curtis becomes more distracted at work after that. At home, Curtis finishes setting up the shelter. He also buys some anti-toxic masks. Meanwhile, Samantha becomes more stressed out at Curtis. She called his brother Kyle to come check on Curtis, but Curtis is quite firm about his plan. Kyle ends up adopting Red instead as Curtis wishes. Later, Curtis's boss finds out that he tends to borrow equipment from the company more than just once. For that violation, Curtis is fired, meaning a cut from medical insurance for Hannah. When Samantha is informed about it, she slaps Curtis in the face and becomes angry. Several days later, seeing Curtis still loves and cares for Hannah, Samantha can't leave him. She suggests giving up on the beach trip this summer and save up for his treatment with a real psychiatrist. At a party, the family enjoys the food together. When an ex-colleague comes to talk to Curtis, the two of them start to fight. Curtis then throws a tantrum, scaring everyone at the party including Hannah. He yells at everyone that he is not crazy. There is a huge storm coming and no one can imagine how dangerous it will be. Samantha can see how bad things go with her husband. However, she still embraces Curtis to calm him down. The trio go home after that. Later, a tornado warning wakes the family up. The family rushes to the newly built shelter. Curtis carefully put masks on his family members. The day after, as the storm is over, Samantha wants Curtis to open the cap, but he insists on the dangers outside. Curtis is so obsessed with his theory that he becomes scared of going outside. However, it was actually a normal storm last night. The sky is shining while his neighbors start their daily routine. Samantha then goes with Curtis to a psychiatrist. According to the doctor, Curtis will go through a serious treatment plan at the center. It means that he has to stay away from the family for a while. Curtis and Samantha find this plan frustrating because Curtis never lived away from his family, especially Hannah. However, the psychiatrist tells him that it is better for the family to go for a trip together. His medical plan could be done after that, and perhaps the family trip may help for Curtis's condition. At the beach, Hannah and Curtis have some fun building sand castles while Samantha is cooking for the family. Suddenly, Hannah signs the word storm. A moment later, Samantha sees there is oil rain dropping in her hand, which happens exactly as what Curtis has warned for ages. Far away, the trio can see a huge storm cloud, and a tornado-like reach down to the ocean's surface. Samantha then tells Curtis okay, leaving the end in a mystery. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notification. That helps my channel.